What's up, y'all, and welcome to another perspective episode of Mind of a Black Author. And today we're going to talk about the professionals. So there's a lot to get into. Just to kind of give you a background, the professionals is probably the one subject, creative work that I've spent most of my creative life on. And it's just, I believe so much, in these characters and in the story and everything like that. So I'm going to take you back a while. For those who've been with me since, way back, you know that I used to do a lot of movie scripts and different spec scripts that I would try to write, just in case somebody wanted to film it. And so I had a lot of people who would read some of my scripts, and I was working this job, and I just realized in customer service, we just have some of the craziest people that we deal with at work, coworkers and things like that. And so I created this spec script, basically this movie script called The Professionals. And The Professionals, it had a lot of personalities of different people. And if you've read the book, there may be some slight spoilers in a lot of things I'm going to talk about, the first book anyway. And it's been out for 2 years. So if you've read the book or seen the animation series, you'll know what I'm talking about. So the main three characters in the book is Steve, who was basically a normal, typical customer service guy. He hates his job like most customer service people do. And the next character is Tasha, who is his level 3 teammate. They work in a group called Level 3, which handles like a bunch of advanced crap and stuff like that. And she's the flirty best friend of Steve. And then there is the illustrious Black Barbie, who is the sexy worker. She works in the front office, and she's actually dating Steve at the time that the story begins. This is the movie script. And pretty much the characters that you know in the book and these characters are slightly different. And the reason for that is, it was a movie, so you don't have a lot of time to really do a lot of development when it comes to characters in an 1.5-hour movie. And so Black Barbie was just an antagonist. She was just devious. She was evil. She did a lot of things that was just, you would really question it, her toxic nature, I guess you would call it. And so that was the first script I created. I had a bunch of different background characters too that was part of the group. Certain ones carried over to the novel and all that, but certain ones didn't. And the script, I let my coworkers read it, and it was a success. A lot of people liked it. Even outside of my coworkers, everybody was laughing. They were like, this is hilarious. And if you've worked in a call center before, you know how hilarious this stuff is. I've worked in call centers for who knows how long, and just dealing with the different people that you work with. Believe it or not, these are the people that kind of get you through those tough days. When you have such a great group of people that you're working with, you're already stressed with the customers, with the job and all that. And that's what the script really showed. It showed that stress level of working when there's changes. I believe one of the storylines was they had to start selling now, and this is a technical group, and now they're being forced to sell, which is based off of real life. And I'm going to tell you this too, just to give you a little background. A lot of these characters are loosely based on real people. I may have combined certain people for certain things. And a lot of the situations that they face at the job are real life things that we had to face as customer service agents. So I wanted to put all that in there because there was a lot of stress involved with the actual job and trying to figure out, how do you sell? We joined tech support, so we didn't have to do all that. We want to fix things. We don't want to sell things. We want to fix the things that the other people sold that broke. And that's basically what the characters were doing. Now, around all that is the love triangle, and that love triangle of Steve, Tasha, and Black Barbie. And Black Barbie's real name in the series, in the series, because I didn't give her a real name, I don't think, in the original script, is Tanya. So you have these three characters, and that's where The Professionals basically is all about. It's really just that love triangle. So after writing that script, everybody loved it. They thought it was hilarious. Even, like I said, even people who weren't in the office, outside people. It was one of my more popular scripts. So I took that and I turned it into The Professionals Serious Business. And The Serious Business was actually a series. So I wrote 2 seasons, 2 10-episode, half-hour seasons. So basically, let me start it over. Each season had 10 episodes. They were written in like about a half-hour format. And then I had a grand finale final episode, which was written more like a movie. Now, that is where the books come in, because they are based on that series that I wrote. So the first season of the script is actually the first book that I wrote and released, called The Professionals. And, the other two books are based on the second season and that final episode. So I already had the groundwork laid, because basically I had all the scripts already written of this when I started writing the books. And so those were very popular, which is why I kept writing them. They were insanely popular. You know how hard it is to get people to read scripts, and let alone a novel. And so when people started reading that script, those scripts for those seasons, it became popular. Everybody loved the characters. Everybody could relate, especially if you worked in a call center. You understood all of this. So that was the beautiful part behind all of these characters. And it gave me more time to develop the characters too. So Black Barbie wasn't just a pure evil character like she was in the original script. She actually had some sympathetic moments. I mean, there was a lot of things that really went into it. So just to kind of give you a tidbit about it, like I said, she was more evil in the actual script, but this one she's more sympathetic, because all she wants to do is just be loved. She finally found a guy that she loves, that respects her, and he may not be the best looking guy in the world, but she loves him. Okay. And, it was a little more sympathetic that way, but, she still had a couple of those toxic traits, that's going to transfer over. And as far as Tasha, in the original script, she was more of the good guy, I guess you would say. And, she didn't have too many flaws. Yeah, she was a little quirky and goofy and all that type of stuff, but she didn't have too many flaws in that original script. But in the actual series and in the book, you got to see a lot of her selfish ways and a lot of things that she did that was really towards her. Like, it was always about her, not necessarily about Steve or the respect for that. I mean, yeah, she had feelings for him, but she always had these reasoning on why they couldn't hook up. So it was a little different story. I had to change a little of the traits. And then, of course, there's a lot of background characters and their stories and things like that in the first book. Now, what to expect in the second and the third books, it picks up where the first book left off. However, I think the story becomes more centric around that whole love triangle. So you'll start to see a lot of different scenes with them. And then, of course, fan favorite character Malcolm, he's also in there. He has his own storyline going on as well. But majority of the script or the books are based off of that love triangle and see where it goes. And there's a lot of things that are hilarious, especially I believe it's chapter 5 in the second book, that it was just a complete and total hilarious situation. I'm not going to spoil it because those books aren't fully out yet, but you'll see it if you actually are interested. And so after I wrote the scripts, again, I wanted to keep the professionals going. So I started doing these little animation shots. And initially I was doing a copy of the first season of the script. So the first few episodes of the little shorts were copying that. But the software that I had at the time couldn't do everything that I needed the characters to do. So what I did was I changed it up a bit and started to do these one-shot episodes with the same characters, just different situations. And again, this was more towards the funny things that happen in a call center. Like there's one when he's talking to the Steve is talking to the QA rep about selling on the call and things like that. And they had these little robotic voices, but they were still funny as hell. One of the more popular ones was the 1-900 tech support episode where Mercedes, who was a character in the story, she basically doing a lot of these calls, getting praises and doing all these sexually typed calls, again, based off reality, even though the girl it's based on will sit there and say that never happened. It did happen, trust me. And other little situations that would come up throughout my time working at the call center. So those little one shots, they were, again, very popular, especially at my job. Everybody loved them. Everybody was hitting me up on Facebook, like, when you going to release the next episode? Like, I'll have it out there and I'll say, well, if I get a certain amount of likes on this in the next 10 minutes, I'll release the next episode, and I would get flooded with likes because people loved these one shots. Even though they were little robotic voices, they were still funny. Everybody loved them. And then when I wrote the second season of the script, I used that same animation software to make the little one-off episodes, again, using that same software, to where it would do like the opening scene or just one of the scenes in the actual script. It would actually lead towards that. So it was kind of a little advertising for people who wanted to read the scripts. They would get one scene, the scene that was the easiest to animate with the software I had, and I would make that as far as like a preview of the script. So a lot went into that. And then I even came out with a short series where Steve is actually a supervisor, because at the time I ended up becoming a supervisor. So it basically, art imitates life. And so now Steve is a supervisor, and now he's dealing with his different agents in different situations. The other people in the professionals also came in there as well, but that was just something else. So the animation shorts, they ran for a while, and I still have all of those on YouTube. I'll put the description at the link below if you want to check out some of those. And then after a while, I kind of put the professionals on hold when I started working on different things. And then I got this other software that was more like the Sims games that a lot of people play. And I took that and was actually able to create the professionals, the season 1. And I actually had live, voices for this one. I didn't want to do the robotic thing anymore. I wanted to do the actual voices. So a lot of the people who were actually part of the professionals or part of the group, they were voice acting. I did the voice acting of Steve. I don't really like my voice, but I did it anyway because I thought nobody can understand Steve like I do. And then, had some volunteers that did Black Barbie, Tasha, Matt, Malcolm, and all the characters in the actual story. And this was a long process to get it all done because I had to get everybody's voice recorded. And I was able to do a lot of the things that I couldn't with the other software. And I ended up creating the professional season 1. It was 10 episodes. And yeah, it was basically the same thing that was in the first book. Or the first season of the script. Same thing, I guess. And it was funny. It was hilarious. It was a lot of work. I'm the only person doing the animation, and then people just come in there and knock out their voices, be like, boom, 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 and they're out. I had to put it all together, and there was some nights where I was up late at night just getting people's voice recorded because some people work late shifts and stuff like that. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. I got it together, and to say that I actually put it together, it's one of those things you're like, wow. And to this day, I still have that as well on YouTube, and you can also watch that on the link below. So I'll link all of this together. So after all of that, then I decided, I was doing novels at this point, writing novels and stuff like that. So then I decided to take that and write it into a novel, and that's where we're at now. So as you can see, there's been a lot of scripts, animations, pictures, novels. There's been a lot with all of these characters, and these characters are basically what define a lot of my creativeness, because I think these characters were the first big hit that I had. And so by the time I wrote the novel, I don't know if it didn't hit as much as because a lot of people have already saw the animation, which is the same thing as the novel, and it was just like it needed a break. So when I wrote it and when I started writing the novel, I was just so invested that I wrote the first novel, and then I just kept writing. Okay, I'm going to write the second one. Then I'm going to write the third one and final one. And so I wrote them all at the same time, like years ago. I only released the first one. And like I said, the cover, it was okay for what it was, but I can kind of tell that maybe a lot of people didn't really understand it. And then certain people I had read the book, they never really gave me the feedback, like was there a problem with it or anything like that. unlike a traditional book, it's not broken down in chapters. It's broken down like episodes. It literally says episode 1, episode 2. So basically the episodes that are listed in the first 2 books are actually the same episodes that it was broken down with in the movie script. So I don't know if that was just too much writing, since there's only 10 chapters, but there's a lot that goes on. Maybe it was just too much too soon, or maybe the people who are reading it didn't quite get it. I don't know what happened. I think the book cover kind of threw a lot of people off, so I had them revamp it, and it looks a lot better now. So we'll see if it picks up, but it's just been sitting there on my computer. So it was just like, you know what, I'm about to go to this National Houston Book Fair, a National African American Book Fair or whatever, and I figured I might as well just go ahead and put it out there. I'm about to release another book along at the same time, so it was just sitting there. So let's just go ahead and put it out there. If people buy it, they do. They don't, they don't. That's the way I look at it. But if you were invested in these characters like I was, this was a hard thing, and I think a lot of it too was I didn't want to put it out because I know that this was it. Like, once I put these last 2 books out, then I really don't have any more professional stories. Yeah, I can, kind of bleed into a couple of other things if I wanted to, but, I'm trying to put it to bed. These characters were fun. I enjoyed them. A lot of them, like, I'm in my 40s now. Back in the days when I wrote a lot of this stuff, I was in my 30s. So you see things differently. I don't know if I can do the same thing if I wanted to dive into these characters anymore. But, it is what it is. And so it was really trying to hold on to something that I just need to get out to the world. They always say that when you have a story, it doesn't belong to you. You need to let it out to the world. So there it is. I mean, The Professionals is out. The entire Professionals now is out, and it's a bittersweet moment because I'm happy to finally get them out there, and I was happy to finally get the cover design right and get everything out there, but I'm also sad that this is it. This is all that there's going to be. So it's going to be fun. I'm going to enjoy these characters while I can, and I hope you enjoy these characters. If you watch the animation, this is basically the continuance of it. There's a lot of things that go on between the trio of Black Barbie, Tasha, and Steve, and trust me, you will not believe some of the things that go on in there. There's a lot of secrets that Tasha has. There's a big opportunity that Black Barbie has, and Steve will have to make a decision. The first book ended kind of crazy where you didn't really know what Steve was going to do. Well, I will tell you this, by the end of the 3rd book, Steve will finally make that decision. So just kind of be aware of that. If you're interested in the characters, again, I'm going to put a link below. So I'm going to have a lot of links below on this one if you want to check out any of the professional work. But thank you for everybody who has supported me, the voice actors who did the animation. I haven't forgotten y'all. Y'all did a fabulous job. And, this is it. I know I sound depressed because these characters have just been a part of my life for so long that it's just like, wow, this is it. So I guess this is how it feels when they write the end of a TV show. Everybody's always sad and all that. I don't know. I guess it's just one of those things you just got to let go. But anyways, The Professionals, the good thing about it is you can watch it, you can enjoy it, you can enjoy these characters, but you can hit me up at www.enigmakid.com. That's www.enigmakid.com for those who are listening to this podcast. And trust me, check them out. You're going to enjoy it. If you haven't read the first book, I suggest you read it. If you haven't watched the animation, I suggest you watch them. There's a lot that goes into these characters, and I really, really, really hope you enjoyed reading about them, watching them as much as I did creating them. It's your boy Enigma signing off, a little sadder, but a little satisfied. Deuces.